Gotcha. What I think is great about the work you've done, Alan, is that you've highlighted just how extraordinary this change has been, just what's been happening with China. And there was an article that you wrote a couple of years
Mhm.
ago, competing with enterprise China versus Chinese
Right,
enterprises, which summarizes this. And I might just
right,
read this out because I think it's fascinating. In
right.
2020, China dethroned the US from the top of the Fortune Global 500. In 2021, China extended its lead with 13 more firms on the list than the US, 135 versus 122. Now, I think that would surprise a lot of people. So, could you tell us a bit more about this enterprise China model, please? How did you learn about it? What is there a framework? I mean, are these companies, are they being directed by the
Right,
the administration? I mean, how does
right.
it work?
Yeah, so enterprise China consists of three types of Chinese enterprises, which captures most of the economy.
Okay.
On the one hand, we have state owned enterprises owned by Beijing. There's, we'll just say, 100 of these firms, not many of them. Many of the biggest firms in the world on that fortune list are these firms. They are owned by the state, they're an appendage to the state. The second level of firms are also state owned enterprises, but they're owned by provincial governments, municipal governments. There's 150,000 of these firms. Some of the big firms on that list are also in this set, but there's a lot of these firms out there. The third set are privately owned enterprises. These are firms like Alibaba, Tencent, and so on. But these firms are also heavily influenced by the state. And that influence comes in two ways. One is the state typically owns a small piece of these enterprises. They own 4% or 8% or 12%, either of the parent or of subsidiary organizations. So you scratch the surface of, and we've been quite rigorous in looking at a whole swath of mid-sized and large Chinese firms. Every single one of them has some component of Chinese ownership, albeit 4%, 6%, and so on. The second way they influence these firms is simply by, uh, you know, through regulation or through signaling. So, for example, we go back to 2020 when Alibaba, Jack Ma, Alibaba's market cap was $665 billion. Jack Ma himself personally was worth about $50 billion. A part of Alibaba's ecosystem is this company called Ant Financial. Jack Ma wants Ant to go public. It would bring in about 300, would value Ant at $315 billion and bring in about $35 billion from the IPO. That would value Ant at more than Deutsche Bank, Credit Suisse, Barclays, ING, Goldman Sachs together.
Mm.
Huge. But then Jack Ma makes a few comments that the state viewed as disrespectful, shall we say. The IPO is shut off. Jack Ma is basically exiled. The stock plummets in value. And this is just a signal to other tech companies that who's in charge? It's the state. And so the state can influence these, and they influence them directly and indirectly. What very typical with these firms, even the privately owned firms, or those that are traded in Hong Kong, or those that are traded in the Nasdaq. These firms will partner with a state enterprise or a municipality, and they'll say, "Look, municipality will say, here's the deal. We'll give you the factory, we'll give you the land, we'll provide infrastructure. We want 6% ownership of your company." and we'll give you discounted financing. And so the Chinese partner, or the Chinese privately owned enterprise, they work with the state. Then the state will say, we'd like you to work with another company, a sister company. And so they're matchmakers that put it together. This is this kind of ecosystem. If you want to compete in China, you have to be part of that ecosystem. And that we kind of refer to as the enterprise China ecosystem.